Productivity is an interesting topic, and many people want to find, how do I be productive? And you come to the perfect place. Now, when I was younger, I never used to be productive. I'm naturally a very gifted and intelligent child. I always was. I'd get full marks, wouldn't even try. That's the type of person that I was. And then when I went into secondary, I started slacking and I couldn't be productive. I wasn't organized, I didn't have a structure or routine, and it was horror. And then I convinced myself, yeah, no, I'm just not that academic. And I wasted time, as I use that as an excuse, and now I'm the most productive person ever, and I'm very smart. And even though I don't do an academic degree, I do a creative degree, I am very, very academically educated. Number one, you need to let go of this idea that you can't do something. It's so fucking stupid. I cannot stand this. There is no such thing as not being able to do something. It's actually scientifically, it is genuinely illogical. When there's a will, there's a way. I've heard that so many times, but it is the most true factor thing that I have ever heard in my life. If you really want something, you will get it. If you really want to be smart, you will be smart. If you really want to be charismatic, you will be charismatic. If you really think you're shy and you want to be more confident, you will be more confident. That is the fact. So if you want to be more productive, you will be more productive, as long as you stop sitting there and saying, I'm so lazy, I'm so this. Get rid of that language. It might sound like a very small detail, but it is essential for everything else that I'm going to tell you. Now, get clear on what you want. Get clear on what you want to achieve career-wise, whatever it is in your life that you want to achieve. Create very clear, actionable steps which you can take to achieve this, okay? Because the clearer it is and the more simplified it is, the more likely your brain is actually going to do to pursue it. And you can take some time to research on what can I do to develop this skill, okay? You need to understand your subject of interest fully, okay? You need to understand, what am I trying to develop on? Is it myself? If you're trying to develop on yourself, look at, okay, what can I do for self-work? I can do some journaling, do some exercise, whatever the fuck you want to do, okay? If you want to develop, your math skills, it takes purely practice. You need to set time to do maths, right? If you want to be educated on a more essay subject or whatever, you can read, you can watch, listen to podcasts, you can go to lectures, you can, there's a lot of stuff you can invest your time into. You just need to get clear on the things that you want to invest your time into and make these things clear that it's easy for you. For example, me, I can't usually do stuff that is too slow and too non-stimulating. So if I watch something on YouTube, I will speed it up, okay? Or if I'm more of an interactive person, so I will rather do work with people sometimes. Actually, that's a lie, I don't like doing work with people. But I adapt. I've adapted all these things to match who I am, and I know how I work. So you need to know how you work, what engages you, what doesn't, how many breaks you need to take. You need to make that clear, because once you've got that plan, it is so much easier to stick to it. It's so much easier to stick to it, because it is catered to match who you are and how you work, which makes you desire to actually complete the stuff you're trying to do. Now, don't do cheap dopamine activities before you do whatever work you're trying to do. Because when you intake cheap dopamine, TikTok, going on your phone, I don't know, whatever it is, your brain naturally wants more cheap dopamine. It gets more, the more cheap dopamine you intake, the harder it is to intake healthy dopamine, such as doing work or hanging out with people, is much harder achievable. So I would say, for example, it's easier to do work in the morning if you're not on your phone that much. So set a time and say, I'm not going to go on my phone 20 minutes before I'm going to do work. This actually does work, because I've noticed that when I am on my phone before I do work, I get kind of distracted at the beginning. I'm a very focused person now, but at the beginning it makes it more difficult than if I were to just not have been on my phone. I'm going to make a whole other video on dopamine, but you need to really observe what dopamine you're taking in your life, because this affects what seems desirable to you. Because if I was constantly intaking cheap dopamine, doing work would seem insane to me. It would feel like hell. But I'm addicted to doing work. So yeah, haven't got that problem anymore. You need to just do it. Okay, you don't need to, if it works for you, set a time and say, I'm going to do this at this time. I'm going to do this at this time. Me, I'm not really a time person. I'm very flexible and adaptable. So I know that won't really work for me. But I know I say, these are the 3 things I need to do today. Whatever time I want to do them, I can do them. That gives me the freedom, that gives me the, relaxed. I don't feel pressure. I feel like, okay, cool, I can just do this. When your brain has a particular structure to follow, it is much more likely to follow through. Next, now the brain likes the illusion of forward progress, right? It is not necessarily the results that make your brain more motivated. Like, for example, if you achieve something, that's not actually what makes your brain more motivated. It is the illusion of forward movement. So you need to create the illusion of forward movement. For example, when I watch back with the things that I'm working on and I can see a clear improvement, I feel much more motivated and more, I feel a lot more love for my work, because I see a clear improvement. This makes me more motivated. This can be as simple as, for example, reading books. I have physical books. I get a book every month, and I've got them all on my shelf. So over time, I can see these are the amount of books that I've read. These are the amount of things I've taken on neuroscience. These are the amount that I've taken on philosophy, maths, like whatever it is, because I can physically see it. It gives me illusion. I'm getting so much smarter, and it keeps me motivated. So it's those subtle little nuances of things you can put in your environment which trick your brain into thinking I'm improving. And if you're not improving, trick your brain into doing so. Not to be lazy, still do your work, but you can do those little things to enhance and emphasize the idea of you improving. Surround yourself around people who are productive, okay? Because there is nothing that is going to make you more productive than being around those types of people. Because people around you really influence you more than you think. If you're around people who are lazy and who don't want to work or don't want to do things, you're going to start to rationalize, yeah, they're not doing it. Even subconsciously, even though you're not consciously thinking it, your brain is going to rationalize it inevitably. When you're around people who are high achieving people, it makes you feel a bit like, oh shit, I've got to up my game. Not to say that comparison, but it's good to be around those people, because when I'm around people who are so good in a work environment and they're so confident and they're so they really work. I love talking to them. I love working with them. I feel more motivated. I feel like, oh yes, this is good. I'm trying to learn from them. Those are the types of people you should be around. If you can't find those types of people, I mean, you should. You really should. Those are people everywhere. But if you can't find them, just try and avoid hanging out with people if you're trying to work who aren't working. Like if somebody's like, oh, I'm not going to work for this. I'm not going to do this. I don't care about this. Try and avoid it. I'm not saying cut everyone off, because people have different work ethics, and then whatever. But just keep it at a very monitored level. There is nothing that irritates me more than if I think you're hindering my work. Like I will never get more irritated, okay? And you should be the same, actually. I think everybody should be that way. Now, if you have an overall healthy lifestyle, you will be more productive, okay? Healthy lifestyle just means relatively eating healthy. I can eat a whole cake by myself, I'll be real. But overall, I eat quite healthy. I get my protein in, I eat a lot of carbs, whatever the hell, yeah. I also exercise. Exercising, I've said this before, releases a lot of healthy neurons. It releases dopamine, it releases all these things. Go for a little run. You can go for a walk. Nature. These little things, you might think like, why are you telling me to go on a walk? I promise you it will help you in your productivity, because your mind will be much more open and receptive, and it will want not cheap dopamine. Now, the last thing I'm going to say is to stop constantly watching stuff about productivity and just do it. It's the most boring thing ever. And I always praise Nike for putting their slogans, just do it, because it is the best piece of advice anybody will give you. Stop complicating stuff. People really complicate stuff and I just don't feel motivated. How do I get motivated? You're not supposed to be motivated. Don't fall for the trap of I'm supposed to be motivated, because you will not get anywhere. The only reason I am able to have a good physique, to be educated, to be excelling in my work at a noticeable level is purely because I do it when I don't want to do it. That's the only way you're gonna be productive. And the more you do that, your job is to simply create evidence that you're doing this, because the more evidence you create for yourself, let's say you do a week of work, even though 3 days you don't want to do it, it creates that evidence that you still do work when you don't want to do it to your brain. So that means the next time you don't want to do it, your brain's like, I actually have this evidence, so that means I'm going to do it, because that's just the type of person that I am. So build this type of evidence over time. That is your job. There is no secret method to sitting and doing work or whatever. You just have to sit and just read the question or get up and go out and do something. It is that simple. And it's the whole ideology that you're complicating in your head and saying, oh no, I don't feel it. It's not dependent on feelings. You are more than capable, and you just have to get up and do it. It is that simple. So I hope you enjoyed my video about productivity. I was undiagnosed with ADHD all my life. That's why when I was a kid, I struggled so much in school, even though I was naturally gifted and talented. And I'm not on any medication. I'm not on anything for it, but because I've created structures and routines, I am more focused and productive than the average person without anything. So I think I'm credited to speak on this topic. But if you feel like you can't do something because of how you are, that's not. It's just a stupid excuse. No matter what's going on with you, you're more than capable to do so. So I hope you enjoyed and you learned something, and I hope you're gonna actually get up and do something and be productive, because being productive is amazing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.